Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I am the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. Happy New Year, everyone. It is 2025. I took the holidays off. We're back with new episodes, and T-minus 18 days until, who knows? It's not going to be good, but so I guess a little over 2 weeks of ominousness hanging over us. And here's the thing, I got the antidote for that bleakness, and that is today's episode, because today I am talking to Brian Blomerth. If you don't know who Brian is, I'm going to read you his bio right now. Comics creator and illustrator, Brian Blomerth grew up in Newport News, Virginia, and in college started to move towards making art for a living. Some of his early work was for Vice, as well as making tour posters for bands like Phish, or album artwork for musicians like Riley Walker. Riley, also one of the funniest people on Twitter, which is not it's not much of a compliment today, but I meant back in its heyday too. Since 2019, Brian's been working on a series of books about 20th century psychonauts, starting with Bicycle Day, about the discovery of LSD, and the follow-up, Mycelium Watsoni, about the scientist couple responsible for popularizing the use of psychedelic mushrooms in the United States. His most recent book, Lily Wave, about the life of scientist and psychedelic dolphin tormentor, that's my own editorializing, scientist and psychedelic dolphin tormentor John C. Lilly, came out in October, and it's a delight. I first heard about John Lilly on The Dollop. They did an episode on him, and his life's a trip, especially as illustrated by Brian, who is a very sunny dude. Really enjoyable talking to him, as you'll hear, especially because the inside of my head, if you have listened to this show more than once, the inside of my head is just a mausoleum of grime. So it's always nice, if somewhat baffling sometimes, to talk to someone on a different wavelength. I think Brian's art is just a joy to look at. And unsurprisingly, the person behind that is also filled with joy. So I hope you like our talk. Coming up on the show, Sunroof, British experimental analog synth duo. Also, Josh the Tuner, the showrunner of Say Nothing, one of the best shows of last year. Jamie McKelvey, British comics artist, works a ton with Kieran Gillen, who has been on the show before. So look forward to those, but for now, let's talk to Brian. Found two facts about you. I've stuff in the back of my head. I'm interested in talking about. But you are a cipher online.
I'm a cipher.
Yeah, there was like a comics.
What does that mean?
There's not much information about you. There's your art, and then there is just there is like I think a picture of you I found, and two facts. I think I found them on your Facebook page.
That's cool. What are these facts?
Newport News, Virginia. Is that true?
Yep.
Born and raised? Like, that's where you're...
Not born, no. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot, and that's where we ended up for most of it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went to, like, a Christian school, like a Baptist Christian school.
I did go to Baptist school. Same school, kindergarten through senior year.
Okay. So that feels rich to me. But then again, I'm someone who has no faith, no sense of the divine, and at this point, wavering at best connection with my Judaism. So I am...
Damn, well, you're going to be disappointed. It's pretty boring. It's as boring as a one-room school would be, or like a one-building school.
So I assume we're around the same age. So 20th, 21st century, you are in a one-room schoolhouse as if it were 1812.
Not really one room, but it was like a church, So like I went to church there on Sundays and Sunday mornings and Sunday nights, and then went to school there Monday through Friday, like 8:30 to 3:30, something like that. And then on Saturdays, my dad was a deacon, so I'd have to go there and work with the old men. So I went there every single day out of the week.
Wow. What is a deacon? I've seen people be deacons on TV. I've heard of a deacon before. What is it?
I think basically you just walk around with the collection tray or whatever. That's pretty much your thing. But it kind of just means you're like, for them, it was like a weird old man club where you would just go and like fix stuff at the church on Saturdays. So then I'd have to do that.
Okay, so it's like a formal title for just like a hey, this guy hangs around, kind of helps.
Yeah,
we should give him something. Give him a title.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, you get that deacon title.
So did you grow up believing, or did you grow up obliging? Like, I gotta do this.
Yeah. A mix, 50-50. Sometimes if you did like be like, I don't know about this, a teacher would like pull you aside and like talk to you for a long time, and it was so annoying that there was no way to get out of it. So you were like, all right, that does me no good. Speaking out does nothing.
Like what? Like an example? Like do you mean something like
hey, if I was just like, I don't know if I believe in Jesus anymore, they'd be like, what are you saying? Like, we're gonna need somebody to talk to you, and they'd like pull you aside in the hallway, and they'd be like, how could you say that about Jesus? Like, he died for you. And you'd be like, all right, fine, I believe again, whatever. I'm back on board.
Religion transmitted to you.
Yeah, well, you also went to these. I went to these like to these camps where you would like promise at like 11 or 12 years old that you would never drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes the rest of your life. You know, and they would make you like walk down the aisle, and you'd just be like, people would be like, I don't. I'd be like, man, I don't know if I want to like commit to that right now, and other people will be like, what do you mean you don't want to commit to that right now? Like, this is the perfect time. This is the only time you have to commit to this right now. And, later in life, I smoked cigs for a while. I just actually quit. I was vaping for a long time. I just quit. So I'm excited about that.
What prompted that? Health reasons? Or are you just like...
I got a baby now, so it was like, it's time. It's time to quit. Because then my wife said she would never tell him if I quit now. And just like committing my life to never smoking or drinking. It was like, now is the time. There's all sorts of funny things I'm planning now. Like, I want to be good at cooking turkey by the time he's old enough to remember.
So wait, did having a child suddenly you're like, oh wait, I actually have to pay attention to the future now?
Yeah, probably. Or I don't know. I had no reason to quit smoking for years and years. And I was like, I guess it's time.
Hold on. Because I'm someone who, I don't have any kids, but I'm desperate to live as long as possible. And anything that's I'm not like a health nut. I guess not. I don't know. I baked some banana bread last night. That's
banana bread's good as hell.
There's a cup of sugar in that baby, in that loaf. I don't know. That's not great for you.
Who cares? Go for it.
I had some vegan pound here. See, but this was not. I had some vegan pound cake a little earlier in the day, and then I had a little bit of banana bread around midnight. Glasses apple cider.
That's tight as hell. That sounds very cool.
It's not unhealthy, but I wouldn't call it healthy either. But outside of like a couple little things, right? I have an obsession with not dying earlier than perhaps I should. And so like cigarettes were always like my parents smoked. So I was always just like, I guess that's going to.
If your parents smoke, you skip. Like my dad's dad smoked, so he didn't do it. And then, if your parents smoke, you definitely don't. I think that's just what I've noticed.
But did you enjoy, what's the enjoyable part? Is the actual like,
Well, now I realize that there's no enjoyable parts, and it turns out that, every time you stop smoking, you immediately, like a couple minutes later, you like crave cigarettes again, and your craving of cigarettes builds up until the next time you smoke, and you're only relieved when you're smoking. So, Now that I've quit, I've like realized that, and I'm like, oh wow, that was stupid. But I don't know, whatever.
Well, no, this is not a judgment on you. I'm just
No,
curious.
I don't care. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I started smoking late too. I started smoking like when college was done, when I graduated from college, because it was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I guess I should start smoking, something like that, you know. And everybody, when I started smoking, it was like I started smoking as a joke. I was smoking Virginia Slims and Pall Mall 100s, you know, like those like long, like lady cigarettes.
Yep.
They're 120s. There's one that's got like a nice rainbow on it. What is that called? It's not called Crystal Light. That's a drink, but it looks like a Crystal Light package. Ooh, maybe that's Virginia Slims. I don't know. But either way. And then I did Maverick Menthol 100s for a long time. And then I switched to e-cigarettes. Yeah, then I switched to e-cigarettes, and I did e-cigs for a long time. But now I'm off. I'm done.
See, I know we're of the same generation because when I was a freshman in college, like early on, like when we were first meeting everyone and just going to parties and stuff like that, I put a cigarette behind my ear as a joke. Never smoked it though. I never went. I never went to the next step of ironically smoking it, but I did have it there as a like, look at me, I got a cigarette by my ear, like I'm a tough from the 1950s. Like if I could have, I probably would have rolled a pack up in like a white T-shirt, like I was Marlon Brando or something like that.
Well, see, in Virginia, you could still, even when I graduated college, you could still smoke in bars and stuff and smoke in side places. So Virginia, it's a bit more like smoker friendly than other places. And when I moved up here, it was like, actually, when I moved to New York, that's when I was like, I'm never buying a pack of New York cigarettes. And I stuck with that pretty hard. That's when I switched to e-cigs.
Yeah. Wait, why is it called Newport News? I've heard of the town before.
Well, there's a man named Christopher Newport, and he would show up occasionally and give everybody the news. So that's why they named it Newport News.
Real? That sounds like a fake story.
It's true. He's got a university named after him, Christopher Newport University, CNU.
Wait, what year is this? That he's like, like a town crier? Like this is the 1800s or 1700s?
No, it's like 1600s. It's one of the oldest, I don't know if you've heard of the colony of Jamestown. Do you know the colony of Jamestown? James Smith, Pocahontas? Pocahontas is real. Pocahontas is real, dog, and it took place in that area. Besides, it's before Virginia's the first colony, like before, like the Pilgrims in Massachusetts. There were colonists in Virginia, so Newport News is very early. Actually, in front of the school that I went to, they had a grave that was from the 1600s, because the church I went to was the oldest church in the area. And the oldest church in Newport News. There was an article in the Daily Press, that's the Newport newspaper, about which one of, because there's all these Baptist churches called First Baptist, and the one that I went to was actually the First Baptist. There you go. If that's what you wanted. I know that's what you were craving.
100%.
But yeah, so I went to school. Not only was it a Baptist church school, but it was inside of a graveyard. Like the graveyard surrounded the school. And, occasionally they would have to move if they were going to build something else. They would have to move like like bodies, like the stuff. So it was pretty cool. You could see them with a crane, like removing,
just like exhuming coffins, or just like moldy, like from what, like hundreds of years ago. So they have to be like completely rotted through, just like
and there's still boxes,
just like
I saw
through.
I saw one from the 1700s. They pulled it out with a crane. It was very cool. But yeah, so we used to play in the graveyard all the time. And that also like weirds people out. When my wife saw it, she was like, wait a minute, this is where you went to school? It's like the creepiest place ever. I never thought about it once. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, wait, how do you not become a goth as opposed to,
there weren't
a psychedelic artist?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just wasn't like that worried about it or didn't even notice. Like it was too goth to even think about.
It was so goth that you're like, I can't, like, I gotta like push against this somehow.
Yeah, probably.
Were you like, okay, you said that you would say like, I don't know if I believe in Jesus, and they would pull you aside and like browbeat you until I guess you believe.
Yeah.
Is that how
you just say, yeah. You just say like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. You just learned early on that sometimes it's just not worth it to open your mouth. I still go with that a lot of times.
Yep.
Like, you know what? It's not worth it. My opinion really means nothing.
Yeah. Or the facts mean nothing. Like, I could argue
Yeah.
with this person and I have the facts on my side, but they're not going to believe me. So why bother?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're just completely like screwed.
Yeah. I mean, my new feeling about this all is that people have to have their own bespoke tragedies before they change. Like, we've gotten to this point where debate, like, I really feel like there was a point, and maybe it's just me. Maybe this is me putting my own idiosyncratic psyche on everyone else. But it felt like there was a point where if you had a discussion with someone, you could maybe change their mind when I was younger. And now they just have to, like, bad shit has to happen to people, and then maybe they'll reconsider their lives. Maybe.
Damn.
Maybe I'm wrong.
A bespoke tragedy is very nice. I like that term. That sounds like Etsy. It's like some. It's like an Etsy nightmare.
Yeah.
Is what a bespoke tragedy is.
Yeah, you could go on there and you can hire someone to fuck up your life in a very specific way to force you to change. That's not a bad business.
That would not be a bad business. Damn, that's very funny.
But yeah, but like, so you're there, you're going to school, you're not really believing, or they're like yelling at you to believe. Are you pushing back against this? Or are you kind of just like going with the flow of what the culture is?
Just going with the flow. Well, this is what makes it funny is basically like later on in life, my parents kind of stopped. My parents moved again because my parents met in California and they'd always wanted to move back. And so they moved back to California. And I was like, Mom, Dad, what is this? Because then they kind of stopped going to church. And I was like, what is this? And they were like, well, we just wanted to like raise you with like something, you know? So like, we just thought this was as good as any other thing. And I was like, all right, sure. That works for me.
Hold on, wait. I see, because when you said your dad was in the military, you went to Christian school, I immediately had I constructed a picture of who your dad was in my head. But he was just like, well, no, we need to give him some kind of structure.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so it was just kind of just like, I guess this is better than what other structure is
It
there?
was just what was around, yeah. I mean, also the schools were pretty bad according to my parents in Newport News. And I did know public school kids, and the schools were pretty rough and crazy. So it does make sense in some ways, especially the school we were zoned for. But whatever, I don't know.
So, okay. So how do your parents get to Newport News in the first place? Like, what branch of the military was your dad in?
Navy.
Navy.
He did Navy, he did Army, and then he did Coast Guard. So he was a chief warrant officer by the end of it. He enlisted, and then, just went through them all. He does boats. Like at the end, when he was doing Coast Guard stuff, his favorite was tugboats for a long time. He was on submarines when I was a really little baby, and then tugboats and LCVs. He went to Iraq both times, and was at sea a lot. He went to sea. It sounds like I'm making crap up.
No, not at all.
He
but
went
it
to
does,
sea a lot.
It is giving. All of this is giving like 1600s. Like your mom is like standing there at the window looking out at the ocean waiting for your dad to return from his voyage.
Yeah, he would be at sea. And my mom, if like we were acting up when dad was at sea, and you'd be like, and your father's at sea. My wife actually was like, my dad went away when I was a kid to China. And then after us like dating for a bit, like I was like, it came up with her parents. I was like, oh yeah, Kate said you went to China for like a long time. And then her dad was like, yeah, I went to China for a week and a half. And I was like, my dad would be at sea for 6 months at a time. What are you talking about? Oh, I know what that's like. My dad went to China for a week and a half. So, yeah. I mean, my mom would never cook with garlic, so my dad would prepare like we would eat raw garlic when my dad left because we wouldn't have garlic until he came back. And I was really worried when I was a kid that my dad was going to go down with the ship.
Sure.
And he didn't push back against that. He was like, I absolutely would. And I was terrified for years. about Dad going down with the ship until later he was like, no, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's not World War II. It's like no one's attacking ships at this point.
For sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, especially
raw
especially
garlic,
not
what
tugs.
do you mean you would eat raw
He would
garlic?
he would just cut up a little piece of raw garlic and give it to us because that was like like that was the last bit of garlic we'd have until he came back.
I see.
My dad's a really good cook, actually.
So it's like a little like ceremony type thing, like, oh, I'm going off to sea for a little while. Let's have this. Let's share this raw garlic.
Yeah.
Did your mom use spices at all?
Nah, it was pretty bland. I think pepper. My mom's a bit more like pepper's too spicy. She's on that kind of tip.
Yeah, my mom too. I didn't learn to cook with spices until I was an adult, and then I was like, "Wait, you could have more than just the plain taste of a potato."
Oh yeah, you can get crazy with it. You can get crazy, especially now. I feel like there's even too many spices. Like people just have way too much in their and the spice rack is crazy.
Yeah, look, you can have like one. If you're white, you can have one spice from another ethnicity.
Just one?
For each ethnicity. So
good.
Togarashi seasoning.
Ooh, that sounds good. I don't even know what that is.
It's just it's a blend of things. You put it, and like if I make like a tofu, kind of breaded tofu type thing, you put some of that spice in there, and it makes it taste better than just
that sounds
breaded
good.
tofu.
You ever? I like the bear. Do you ever have the bear spice? It's Ethiopian.
Oh, what's that?
It's just a great spice. I can't even describe it. It's like what is mainly in Ethiopian food is this bear. So get yourself some bear.
Food.
Get yourself some bear. That's what's in Ethiopian.
There's a great Ethiopian place up on, I want to say 135th. 135th? Yeah, New York.
Really? I've never been up there. I haven't had good Ethiopian really in New York. I went to one spot in Brooklyn. Baltimore and D.C., they have it like lined up. They're really good at it there.
Oh, buddy.
That's the best spot for it in the country.
Jump on, without giving your location away, jump on the F.
Okay.
Go to West 4th.
You can dox me. I don't give a shit.
West 4th. Switch over to the C or the D. Look, if you want to go express.
This is cool.
Take the D to 125th.
Damn, this is sick as fuck. Give me these directions.
If you feel like walking 10 blocks, go all the way up. I think it's 135th and MLK, and then it's great if it still exists. Who knows? I haven't been back in New York in like 5 years, so half the places are like closed down and replaced with Banks of America at this point. So who knows?
Yeah, there's always somebody jacking off in the Bank of America.
That's what I've been saying for years. Always someone jacking off in the vestibule.
Always.
So your dad's at sea half the year. Do you get along with your mom in that time?
Yeah, mom rocks. I love mom. Mom's cool.
You said that you were like you kind of like went along with what was going on, right? Was that generally just like, I just don't want to have any conflict, or are you just kind of a like buoyant person?
Definitely I don't want to have any conflict. I got suspended for blasphemy. I don't even remember why exactly, but you could get suspended for blasphemy. Which is a 16th century crime.
Okay.
That's a 16th century crime I got popped for. And then when I got suspended, I had to go visit my dad's dad in the nursing home. So that's tight. Yeah, so just kind of going along with it, but also, occasionally pushing, but then realizing it wasn't worth it. Pretty much just like that.
I'm probing here, trying to figure out like at what point does your life start to deviate from this? Because this is like seemingly, if there was nothing else there, this life is pushing you into a kind of like straight and narrow existence, as far as I can see. Military dad, religious upbringing. You don't want any kind of conflict, so you're kind of just like going along with the flow. What's eventually going to knock you off the script that you were handed at birth?
I don't know. I guess going to college. Yeah, we had a good art school in Richmond, VCU, and then when I went there, the first like 2 weeks, I was like, it was just like such a culture shock. I didn't even know what to do or like, like how it was going to work for me. And I've been very good. I think, well, I'm not great, I'm not amazing at drawing, but I've been okay at drawing for my whole life. Like basically, like it's been something I've been really into doing my whole life. My parents would get me like drawing lessons. I did this one drawing lesson class with this old lady who had like knuckled hands, and she would do colored pencils. Like they were like all curled up, all crazy, and she wore a beret. In the basement of this like arts museum over by the Mariners Museum. Our big museum in Newport News is called the Mariners Museum, and it's all about boats. So they had this arts museum, this tiny arts museum next to the Mariners Museum. If you can believe it, it's a very boat heavy area.
Sure.
Yeah, the biggest harbor in the United States, Norfolk, Virginia, and the biggest shipyard still, Newport News Shipbuilding. Half the dads worked at the shipyard and the other half were in the military. And then occasionally there would be somebody else. But it would be weird to meet somebody whose dad did something else. Like I hung out with the Greek kid whose like dad ran the diner, and I was like, this lifestyle is dope, where it's not like a military dad. Your dad just like goes to work at like this spot and you know where your dad is.
You can get mozzarella sticks whenever you want.
Yeah, true.
That would have been a dream. When I was a kid, my friend Josh, his sister and brother-in-law, they opened up a restaurant, and they had access to restaurant grade mozzarella sticks at a time when there was no way to get mozzarella sticks, really. I guess there was maybe like a single frozen brand, but they're not good.
Yeah, for sure.
The restaurant grade had like a shell, like the flour shell, as opposed to like maybe the one frozen thing you would get at the at giant supermarkets that had breaded.
Oh wow, yeah, for sure. And you need a real fryer too. It was before the days of the air fryer. Now people have air fryers at their house, but I don't have one. But I know that's how you do it.
Brian,
now.
I'm going to tell you, the air fryer, it's a joke. It makes it a little. It's slightly crispier. It is almost imperceptibly crispier than if you just put it on the regular oven setting. They're selling you a dream. They're selling you a joke.
They're selling you a dream. That's cool. That's good to know. I'm glad I don't have one, because occasionally it'll be like, it's time for an air fryer, and then something's like, do I really want to have more fried shit in my life?
It's not worth it. And half the ones they sell you like are just, I don't even, they don't come with instructions. I don't know if that's true. We got one that did come with instructions, and now I have said that's half of them.
Damn. No, I love it. Do you have a rice cooker?
No. Should I get one?
Rice cooker is solid. Get one. Yeah. We do polenta in it all the time now. And if you need to steam veggies, it's pretty tight. It's just like, you got a nice timer, and you don't have to be using your stove. You could use your stove for other things and have your veggies steaming. I don't know. Rice cooker is where it's at. You can slow cook stuff in it too. I'm a big fan of the rice cooker.
All right. Here's the thing. Where in Newport News, as a kid, is there any kind of counterculture?
Well, technically, there was a Christian hardcore scene, sort of, if you can believe that. And it was like Christian, like a little bit of Christian music. So there was kind of one, but it was the weirdest one. And the video store had there was some pretty cool stuff at the video store, and there was a weird record store. So there was stuff, but it was kind of like, like you got what you got. I don't know. So yeah, there was stuff. I don't know. But it is, you had to go through and find your own stuff. And older brothers, my friend Tim's older brother had a solid record collection that we could go and make tapes of, and stuff like that. Like he had all the indie rock you could imagine from that time period.
Is this the 90s?
No, this is I started high school in 99. I graduated 2003. So yeah. So I mean, I guess my young childhood is 90s. Yeah, 6 through 16. Yeah, or 17.
Because I'm just trying to figure out the hardcore period. Because you got the real hardcore early 80s.
Oh yeah,
you got the
yeah.
second. You got screamo and that stuff in the 90s.
This is Christian screamo kind of deal. Like, and it's weird. I think it's kind of like, I think there's only a couple pockets like this in the country. Like, I think Connecticut's like this. Maybe like Florida's like this, or was. Where it was like you had like a weird little hardcore scene, and it was like ours was particularly Christian because you would do it like at churches. So there was this band Zayo that was really big from that, and then Spitfire was a local one, and Tooth and Nail Records, which I don't know.
I think I've actually heard of that.
Yeah,
that's better. Like yeah.
Oh no, they're the biggest independent record company like out. It's Tooth and Nail. It's a secret fact. They'd sell it like Christian record stores and stuff. And actually, we got a chart that said, like, if you like this kind of music, here's a Christian version of it, you know? And they did have... this might be a lie, but I don't think it is. There's a band called White House, right? And it's a noise band, and it's like a terrifying, like brutal noise band. There was a Christian version of that called Black House, and Black House kind of sounds better than White House does. Even it's like got a drum machine and stuff. It's a little bit more power electronics. And he's got one song about your light being a candle. It's very weird. There's a lot of very weird, like there was a Marilyn Manson Christian version. Like there's a lot of really weird stuff like that.
Oh wow. Who was the Christian Minor Threat?
Shoot. I think they just would say Minor Threat is the Christian Minor Threat. Because straight edge, of course, solid. Everybody would be like, yes, straight edge is the way. And Ian Mackay would definitely push back against that, but he didn't grow up in Newport News. He's in D.C. like a chump. Nah, he's a cool dude.
Like, is this stuff appealing to you at all when you're younger, or do you have to start discovering it really in college?
Well, that stuff, yeah, that was appealing to me. And then like later, like I went down like, you know, the classic like music rabbit holes, and there was a noise spot my friend Gary ran. My friend Gary lived above this store Bender's in this fucked up town Phoebus, Virginia. Now, was it Phoebus or Pocosin? It's Phoebus, yeah. He lived in Phoebus above this shop Bender's, and he had shows at his house. And there was, like the traveling, the noise people of the early 2000s would come by. Like Cocky SP played there, and, stuff like that. So I had that at my senior year of high school. And then Gary, I lived with him later in life. Gary thought that I was the kid that showed up with a didgeridoo and Birkenstocks, and that was not me. Gary did not remember me at all. And I thought Gary was another guy, too. There was a guy in Richmond who did like these like little tag things, and I thought that was Gary. I don't know. It was a lot of... early times of not knowing who people are.
Before you could find them, do all this detective work online,
100%, yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
You'd be like, oh, I know what this is, and then you would absolutely have no clue.
My wife and I watch House Hunters International sometimes, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's basically like a couple usually they go to another country to buy a house, usually like it's either like a religious couple that's going to proselytize and they're getting a place for a year, and they never like let you in. You have to kind of like figure out from the fact that they have like 8 children that they're religious.
Yeah.
They never like say it directly. Or it's like a white rich couple that's going to like South America or Central America that thinks that they can, buy a mansion for $50 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's almost full. It's almost completely detestable. Everyone's awful.
Yeah.
And we are constantly watching it, doing detective work to see if these people truly are as awful as they have been depicted in this show. And almost exclusively it is true that they are bad people.
Yeah.
And you're like looking at their like Instagram, and you're like, oh, this person owns a private prison. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, there's some terrifying rabbit holes like that, like Filipino expats. That stuff is terrifying. Just real.
Oh, like the QAnon guy.
Yeah. People like that who are like, yep, It's time to move to the jungle and be a king in the jungle.
Yes. A lot of pedophile.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the people that, you already know.
Yeah. Hey, well, not anymore. Now they're fully running the government.
There you go. There you go.
Oh boy. So okay, so you're growing up. I'm just trying to figure out also, like, is there a point where you start to push back, or do you think that like everything is kind of like flowed in one direction, right? Like, do you think that as you start making art for real, it's just kind of like you figure out what your role is, or like what is the place where you can make art? Does that make any sense at all? I realize that was a very vague question.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, well, the problem is basically there's like, there's like not 20 years, but at least like 15 years in between like me graduating from college and then me figuring out how to make like a living off of drawing. So it's like a long time period in between. I have a friend, Pete, who, shout out Pete Gamlin. I always, whatever. Pete went to the New York Times and like showed him his sketches, and that's how he started getting like paid to like draw. I didn't know that was a thing you could do. Like, who would believe that that's what you did, Like, so I didn't start making a living drawing until like later. In the beginning, it was like, a lot of drawing for zero money, and I don't know. It like goes up and down, like ebbs and flows.
But did you know that that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, 100%. But I just had no idea how to do it.
What age do you think you figured out, like, oh, this is something that this is a desire that's in me, and I'd like to try to do this for my life?
My whole time. As young as
really?
The whole time. See, my dad, this is another part that I will tie it back to the ship thing, is he would bring expired maps home, and then I would spread the expired maps out on the floor, and they'd be as big as the kitchen floor, and I'd fill the whole thing up with like a big, massive drawing, like, ships fighting or spaceships or whatever, and it would take days and days and days, probably like 2 or 3 weeks on one, and then like pack it up, and then like start another one. So I've loved drawing my whole life.
Like, these are like, what are they? GIS, is that the name? I used to catalog government documents for a couple years. Is that the name of the government agency that makes the maps? Like those kind of things?
I cannot tell you at all. That's hilarious.
I just asked because I was like, in my mind at first was when you said expired maps, it was like an old map from like 1427 that had a sea monster on it. These are modern maps that are just like, oh, we actually found an island over here. Now we have to redo the map.
100%. That's how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're always
okay.
Every year I think they update the maps, so then you have these big, massive things. Because I think, also too, it was like they had satellite GPS stuff, but I think a lot of that was, you would check it against the map, It would be like they didn't get rid of maps. I think they probably got rid of maps by now, but I don't know. Maybe they still have physical big maps.
No, they got what? Well, I don't know. I was about to say, like, I would have to assume, like, if you were in the military, that if a satellite goes down, you don't want to be fucked.
Yeah, they probably still got the maps.
They
probably got the maps still. Why wouldn't they? Screw it. Who cares?
I mean, they get how many trillions of dollars? I'm sure, true. Like, they can spend a couple thousand printing out maps.
That's true. Map talk.
Oh yeah, no. We're fully changing the topic of the show.
Hell yeah,
be about maps.
There's a podcast about maps, actually.
Wait, for real?
For real. Well, it's the Maps Museum, and they do lectures, and you can listen to their lectures. There's like this Tibetan guy who like he photographs like the murals like very, very intensely, like like high, like multiple gigabyte, multiple terabyte photos of like these murals. And he did a great lecture from the Maps Museum. I listened to the other day.
Is it of interest if you're not a cartographer?
I would say so. I thought it was pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't know why. I thought I liked them. That's the kind of thing I like listening to while I'm drawing, is just something completely boring like that and just barely interesting enough to keep you being like, yes, let's go. It's either music or that. Because sometimes you like get burned out on picking music. So then you're like, all right, let's have some jerk talk to me for an hour about maps.
Man, if you did not just describe all podcasts in one sentence.
True. But not you, though.
No,
of course not. Not me either.
You seem You seem like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and I'm curious if that is just this interaction, if that is in general, you're kind of happy-go-lucky.
I hope so. I think so, but I don't know for sure. Like you would like to. I would like to think. I mean, I am. Like anybody else, I fall prey to the bout of grumpiness from time to time.
Sure, but in general, like when you were a kid,
I try to keep it
kind of just like
I try to keep it pretty happy. I mean, yeah, the baby we have is like laughing all the time and like having a good time. And my mom told me that that's the way I was, and yeah, so I guess it is kind of just that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I like to have a good time. I like to relax if I can.
Yeah, is it natural, or are you? If you get into a tense situation, are you like, well, I gotta like make a joke to like kind of like cut the tension?
Sometimes,
or is it just you're naturally like? I guess what I'm trying to say is like, is it just like it happens to just come out of you, or you're like make a concerted effort?
No, I guess it just kind of happens to come out of me. I guess I try to keep it light, try to have fun. I don't know, I guess I have a little bit conscious effort, a little bit, but. I can be a jerk too. I can be a complete asshole.
Sure.
I can be a fucking monster.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying like this has like every moment of your life is like this, but I'm just like I'm curious in general if that's how you exist in the world, and then if so, how did that affect like how you wanted to make art, if it at all?
I don't know if it really has anything to do with me. I mean, it's weird. It's like when you're drawing, it's like the drawings do exist. They are like your personality and everything like about you, but at the same time, they got nothing to do with you at all. You're like shocked that some of the crap I make. I'm like, what even is this? Yeah, some stuff I'm just like completely confused by, or I know how it works. Like, I'll get interested in something, I want to learn about it a lot. Like, then that will like affect like the work, or like that'll be like a focus for X, Y, or Z. That is very fun to like learn a lot about a topic and then draw like based off the stuff that you've learned, or like try to draw like try to learn a new technique, or like use something new, or if you find like a new illustrator that you'd never seen before, try to incorporate something that like let's say like a guy from the 1800s draws like a really beautiful fern, like let's try to see if I can get that fern in, like thinking of one guy in particular, and his ferns are very nice. So yeah, or like an abstract cloud, I don't know, you just like look at stuff. It's kind of just like you walk around, look at stuff, you're try to draw all sorts of stuff. You try to make it interesting and fun for yourself, like that's the main thing. Is like if you're having fun drawing, you want to make it to where it's obvious that you had fun drawing it, and then that transfers the fun to other people. There's one Japanese cartoonist I really love. I can never pronounce his name, Shugura Segura or whatever. New York Review of Comics just put out a book. Ryan Holmberg translated it, of his work, but his work is just super fun. And whenever I look at it, I'm like, this is fun. This is exactly like my stuff. Doesn't look like his at all, but he's similar to me where it's just straight to pen, and it's just, you can tell that he has a blast drawing. And so I like to have a blast drawing too.
Was that always the way it was? And then you kind of naturally gravitated towards like a psychedelic way of drawing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this fun, there's this element of your art that is very, comes like 1970s, like alt comics kind of thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And I see like the way that you draw, now that you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see the fun. Like I can see how that, and I'm wondering which came first, like you found that and then you started drawing in a certain way, or that you started drawing in a way where you're like, this is fun. I want other people to feel the same thing I'm feeling when they see my art.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of like developed like from drawing like a ton all the time, So like, and it is kind of like, I mean, I know everybody's work is like this, but it is like, I try to like pick and choose from like all of my favorites, like Carl Barks. He did all the he did all the duck stuff. In the backgrounds, a lot of the characters are like dog people, like the dog people I draw. So that's like a little nod to him. And then, like I I had when I was a kid. Actually, I got this book, Bill Blackbeard's Treasury of Newspaper Comics, and I would just try to draw like everybody's different like ways and like figure out how everybody drew throughout the book. And it's a really great book because you get to see like you get like a small sampling of like everybody who was doing newspaper comics from like 1880 something to like 1950. So it's very, very cool. And, it was like back in the day, they used to give a cartoonist like a whole big spread of the newspaper. So your thing would be massive. And that's still my favorite way to draw, is like drawing big like that. Like when I do an 18 by 24 poster, I do it life size. Like my favorite is either drawing big and shrinking down or drawing the exact same size it's going to print at. So
yeah,
it's just fun. I have a big drawing desk here that your this phone is attached to right now, and I don't know. Drawing big is my favorite. And I don't even remember what the question was now.
I was curious, like how your style developed. I'm very, when I see someone or when I listen to a musician that has a style where I can, even if I don't know what the song is, I'm like, oh, that's this person. Like, I don't know, whatever. Mac McCon from Superchunk has a certain way he solos. And when I hear something, I'm just like, oh, that's a Mac McCon solo. Or that's someone aping Mac McCon. Or, whatever, right? That's just, or, there are certain artists where a lot of artists I see, like if I read comics, I'm just like, yeah, you're just doing it because you have a story in mind, but like there's nothing there in the art necessarily. But with your art, with a lot of other people's, I'm like, oh, there's a style there.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious how that stuff develops.
Yeah, I think you do it, you do something once, and then you're like, you know what? I think that's okay. And then you just keep adding to that, and then eventually it just happens, or it doesn't. I mean, like, I don't have any idea how it happened to me or why. I think it's just like maybe you have to have like the slight stupidity to be like, yeah, I'm cool with doing the same thing over and over again for the most part. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's just like when you have a certain way of doing something and it's easy to fall into, and you feel like you can feel yourself getting better at your own weird, dumb way of doing things, like, then that's really fun. You're just having fun.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's all style is, just having fun. You can't dedicate yourself too early on to it, though. You got to copy everybody, I think. Or, like learn how everybody does things. Not necessarily even copy. Just learn how, if there's something you're into, learn how X, Y, and Z does it. And then you just start doing it your own way and then see how your hand naturally develops stuff, Because it's also like certain things you're just like stuck with for life. Like if you develop bad habits early on, like it turns out you're supposed to draw with a pencil and not like directly into a pen. Most cartoonists pencil everything out and then erase the pencil and then ink in the final lines, right? When you do it in pen, that means if you screw up multiple times, you have to like transfer, like you have to change your whole concept of what this panel or thing's going to look like because you completely screwed up an area. And occasionally, what's nice about the pen is occasionally if I do use a pencil, it's phenomenal. I'm like, wow, this is nuts. This is why people do this all the time. But it's too annoying and I don't have time to pencil. I'm not going to start now. It's too late.
I really love your philosophy on this, where you're like, well, it's fun. I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to have other people have fun reading and looking at my art, because I've been thinking a lot lately. I had a guest on a while ago where I asked, like, why did you, I think it was a musician, why did you make this thing? And they're like, when you first started out, they're like, because it was fun to be in a band.
Yeah, it's tight.
And I want there to be this, because I'm constantly like, well, what's the meaning? What's this? What's behind this? What is the psychology? And people, like, a lot of it is just like, well, it's fun to do. I mean, that's not all of it. But I think there is this element, and I always neglect that in terms of like this kind of deeper kind of like, I'm trying to like get at the core of something. But it's just like, for a lot of people, myself included, when I make things, when I write, my wife notices this because she's an actor and a stand-up and a writer, but she is an actor and a stand-up first. She's a very good writer, but the other stuff is what she really likes. And so writing for her is more of like, well, I have to do this because I have this idea and no one else is going to do it if I don't. but I really enjoy writing. And she like notices, she's like, yeah, when you write, I see like if you write a joke, like you actually laugh.
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
cool.
doing it. I'm like, yeah, because it's fun. It's fun to write a joke in a script.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's fun to laugh out loud while you're working on something. That's great.
Yeah.
It's really great.
So I really like that because I often neglect that as a reason to make art.
Yeah.
When that's like at the core of a lot of it.
For sure. And I mean, I don't know. I have like some other ideas on this, like, you know, the book series, but like for the most part, I do try to keep that philosophy right. You know,
is your interest in psychedelics, does that predate your artistic style? Or is it kind of like they dovetail together?
The interest in the psychedelic stuff is like a bit later. I mean, I've always been like curious about it, and always been like you know, like you read about other cartoonists like R. Crumb and stuff, and like what they, you know, their whole like trajectory with it, and so yeah, I don't know, but like I don't think, you know, to me, I don't know. The other people would say that it's like a totally psychedelic like style, you know, that I'm doing, but I don't really think so that much, you know. I think it bends itself easily to that, you know, and it's fun to do that. But like really, I was just like, you know, for the first book, Bicycle Day, which, you know, you're not doing video, but it's showing enough. For the first book, Bicycle Day, I was like, well, this idea is exactly what I'd want to do if it's the only book I get to do, because it kind of fit, like, you know, I'd done a couple zines, I'd done like longer form comics for like Vice and stuff, and but really my favorite was I did a couple zines that were like spreads, you know, so I wanted to do a book that was more like spreads, like less like panels and more like these like environments, you know, that you went into. So Bicycle Day, the story seemed to make the most sense for that, and I was like, that'll maximize like everything I want to do in a book as like one thing. And so after that, I was like, well, it makes sense to do a couple of these, so I think I'm going to do one more, and then I'm off drugs forever. I'm going to quit drugs. I have to figure out something else to draw.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm fascinated by psychedelics. At the same time, I'm absolutely afraid of taking
then don't.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to. I mean, who knows? I don't know. If I get cancer, I'll probably like... I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. But like up until that point, I don't want to know. I don't know what it'll do to my brain. And I'm so attached to my ego. And it really feels like all my friends who have like experimented with acid or mushrooms or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, there's ego death. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I guess so. Don't do it. That's the coolest part about it, is you don't have to do it. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter.
Sure. Yeah.
I could give a shit.
But at
less.
the same time, it seems like you know, reading your books or like talking to people who have done who have used psychedelics or whatever like that. Everyone seems to, unless they have a bad trip, it seems like there's something interesting that comes out of it. And I'm kind of curious how it's changed you as a person.
I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no clue, to be honest. I mean,
how long did you use psychedelics for?
Oh, not like, I've never like, this isn't like smoking cigs or whatever. Sure, like occasionally throughout my life, but you know, not like all the time.
Sure.
I would rather.
No, I wasn't saying like you're like Dennis Leary or something like that.
No. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, I don't know. Whenever I feel like it.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm like, yeah, all right. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I do like the like they should be legal for like research purposes things, and like, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that MAPS is doing, like, you know, for veterans with PTSD and the cancer patients with the psilocybin and the life trials and a bunch of stuff like that I don't know. That's as like woo woo as I get with this stuff, is I think that probably is a good thing. And there's like applications that people are just starting to like find and figure out, you know, like, because they just all got like canned, you know, and the research on them got canned. There's like tons of stuff you can look into about all the stuff, alcoholics, AA being like a psychedelic thing, like all stuff like that. Which, all that sounds pretty good to me. I'm into it.
No, it's crazy just how, obviously it's a casualty of the drug war, but also, the CIA used acid to fuck with people, MK Ultra, and there's like such a dark history of it that you don't, like when I was a kid, there was like an after school special, I think from the 70s, but they were still replaying it when I was a kid, about someone who does acid and they jump out a window. And so like, because I grew up in the Dare era.
Yeah.
I was a kid in the 1980s. So like all drugs were scary. And when I became an adult, I was like, I guess I could do them. It was just like, I'm too old at this point. Like it feels weird. It would feel weird for me to like go out in the woods and drop a tab.
Damn. True. Now, the woods in Newport News.
Put on a Fish album.
The woods in Newport News were not for psychedelics. They were for huffing gas.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I hung out with these kids. I think I talk about this on like every like third podcast I've been on, So I'm going to do it for you too. There were these kids that all worked at this McDonald's, and I knew them. And they would do this game where you would go to the woods and you would huff gas, and then one of them would don a Jason mask. One of them wouldn't huff gas, and he would put a Jason mask on and chase you around the woods, and you would be running around the woods terrified, high on gas. And after I did that, I had to recommit my life to Jesus Christ. Wow. I was like, I need Jesus back in my life. This is what not being with Jesus is about. It's about huffing gas in the woods.
Honestly, I would too. I would have gone straight back to
They
church.
had the Pantera haircut where it's called the brain tugger, where you have the ponytail, but then you shave all the way around underneath. And they murdered working at the McDonald's.
Wait, when do you stop going to church? Like when you go to college?
Yeah, when I go to college.
Was there ever a tug? Were you ever like, maybe I should go back? Or were you just done?
Yeah, I don't know. There was like this girl that I knew that like did like this Christian thing at the college, and I went like twice, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. But yeah, I don't know.
So you graduate, and then what happened? You said it was like 15 years before you were able to kind of start making a living. Are you spending that time, that decade and a half, working, trying to make it a living? Or are you just like, you know what? I love drawing. If I have to have a job as a waiter or whatever, in order to do that, I'll do that. Or are you like purposely like, okay, a friend of mine went to the New York Times, showed them their portfolio. Now I can.
Oh, I didn't know about that at all. Yeah, so yeah, it was just like I was a dog walker for a long time. I was a lab rat for like medical experiment stuff for a long time. Yeah, just stuff like that. All sorts of like random like odd little jobs. Yeah.
In the background, are you building towards something, or are you just, I'm drawing, I'm going to keep drawing, I'm going to keep making zines, I'm going to keep doing what I want to do?
Yeah, I was always drawing. I was making little zines and stuff. I was making zines. Drawings would they kept like going somewhere, So I'd always be drawing. I'd always be drawing, making things.
Are you looking towards like, hey, eventually I want to put out a book. Eventually I want to do this. Or are you just doing this and seeing what works?
I guess just before I started making money on it, seeing it and like figuring out what works. Or just like having fun with it and just drawing stuff and giving it away to friends or trying to sell zines or whatnot, or all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Scamming Kinko's copies, the whole deal. The whole deal.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how goal-oriented you were.
Not that goal-oriented. I honestly just love drawing, but then it would always be like, damn, how do you even make money doing this? It's insane.
Do you see your peers making money? And if so, are you jealous of them? Or are you just like, oh, that's cool?
I guess that's cool. I mean, drawing wise, not really. I mean, like, it's weird. It's like, I guess I knew a couple of cartoonists that were doing okay, but not like amazing, like not that much different than me. Or like they would still be working like odd jobs too occasionally. It wasn't until like, yeah. I mean, turns out the real way to make like a living in this is either like you do books consistently, you have like a solid fan base that like buys your books every time, and even then, or you do it the way that I do it, where it's like you do a book and then you take gigs for a little bit, you save up again, and then you do another one. And that's the way that I like doing it, because I think it's kind of a bit more fun to like, get paid to train. Like I do shirts for myself and the wife, and then I'll just be doing random gigs or things that interest me or don't interest me. Mainly it's just like I try to take on gigs that I'm somewhat into. But occasionally you gotta you want to keep a client,
that's the dream.
and
at this point,
so it's pretty chill. I love it. I'm having a great time. And I mean, it could end at any time, too.
No, yeah, that's great.
It could end at any time.
That's
People could be like, we hate this guy's drawings now. We've seen enough of these damn critters. These damn dogs.
It's so interesting because like I think I had this like desire in me for so long that I didn't even know that this is what I wanted to do. And I kind of like had this just like sitting in me, and I was like, is this, what am I doing in life? And I kind of just floated through until eventually I found it, but much later in life. And then once I found it, I'm like, I got ravenous, and I'm like, well, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just interested. Like it just seems like you were just like, I mean, dumb metaphor, but just like riding the wave.
Yeah, but not.
I'm going to just keep making art, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, not really, though. I mean, it is like that, but it is like there's a lot of drawing in between, So, like, yeah, there's a lot of drawing. And when I first started, like, being like, okay, I'm going to see if I can, like, live off of this, it was like I would get $200 from Vice every week for a whole 3 pages. And then I would get another $200 every other week from this like Mary Jane website for 3 pages for them. And then it would be like gigs in between that. So it was like 6 pages, like, and a page should take a day, like 11 by 17 should take a day. But like you would have to do like, all 3 pages in like a day and a half. So you'd have to do like a full, like an overnight run. So I do an overnight run like twice a week to do these. And for like not that much fucking money too, I mean, yeah. So it was barely like my rent was paid. And off of those 2 gigs, and then it's like I would live off of other gigs in between. So it was like there's still more drawing to be done. So, but now it's a bit less, and especially now with baby, like I'm kind of like doing a lot more of the baby stuff. So like I'm taking on way less, and it feels nice. But it's like when I do get to draw again, I'm like really happy, and I'm having a great time because it's a bit less now. It's not like it used to be. Like I would do my day, walk the dog, eat breakfast, and start drawing, and then draw till like dinner time. Like every day, like walk the dog in the middle of the day, and that's my break. But now it's like there's whole days where I can barely draw. I only get to draw like 2 hours or something. And occasionally it's like I'll get the full day again. Because you do need like, you need to start, and you need like enough time to like get into it, or like, it's like the first like 15 minutes are just kind of like, what am I doing? Where is this going? What's the point of this? And then after that, you're like, oh, okay, I remember how to do this.
I guess that's, okay, we're right at the end. I guess that's my real question, which is, when you have an idea, what is it about like Dr. Lily that grabbed you where you're like, well, I want to spend all this time working on this guy's story?
Well, after I read all of Lily's books, I was like, I can't fucking do this guy. This guy's out of his mind. But
I mean, yeah, he's
he's
all of it. is nuts.
He's wild, man. So the idea with these books is the tricky, sneaky idea is that all these books are a couple in a compound, actually. So like that's like the through line through it. And Lily did write a book with his wife, the Dyadic Cyclone. So I was like, Lily does fit the damn pattern where it's a couple in a compound, and he's got it. And like, you know, the book company, like in one of the meetings early, I was like, I told them about. After we did Bicycle Day, I was like, yeah, I'd like to do 4 of these books. And I think it would be it would be like, you know, it's the kind of series that I would have liked to have found as a kid, you know? So I was like, I might as well, I have the idea. I want to do it. Let's just do it and see what happens, you know? But, yeah, so Lily fit the pattern, and then I read all Lily's stuff, and then there was like a couple days where I was like, I'm just gonna have to. I think maybe this is just a trilogy. It's not 4 books, a quadrant or whatever the fuck you call 4 books, and maybe we don't do Lily. But then I kind of figured out, like, I was like, oh, actually, I think I know how it's gonna work. Once you outline something, like, then you can kind of like you get into it. It turns out that's like the writer way is like you outline stuff, and then once you've like outlined, you're like, oh. You like trim it all down, and then you see how it works. Because all these books are like designed to be very, very, very simple, but then have like a ton of like back details if you knew about Lily or whatever. And I kind of did a thing too where it's like a lot of the like the major headlines that people would like look for in this book are like diminished. Like the like solid state, like looking out the plane window. Like I changed it to where it would only be like 1 page and it wasn't out the window. You know, he's like naked and it's like a fold in. You know, because I just wanted like a lot of like the stuff people knew already to kind of be a little bit down, and then just do it as a way that, like, I kind of saw this like period of his life, you know?
Yeah. Like, what grabbed you though? Was it just that he seems insane, and also has it like this kind of like not really insane. I don't mean like insane like like just like
now
very out there.
I think it's just the other thing about this, besides being couple in a compound, is I do like to like learn like a new technique or like use like a different printing technique for each one of these books. So for this one, Carl Sagan is a guy who like funded he helped like Lily get funding for the Dolphin Lab, and Sagan has an airbrush artist named John Lomberg. And Lomberg is really good at doing these cosmic airbrushes, and Sagan and Lomberg were super tight, and like whenever Sagan needed an illustration, he would hit up this guy John Lomberg. Like they had a full like relationship together that basically like was like, okay, I should be Lily's Lomberg through this. And that's what like all the airbrush, like the cosmic stuff is in this book, is I was trying to like hit those cosmic like notes. So that got me like excited about this too. It was like when I came up with that idea, I was like, oh, okay, so that's that. And I don't know. It's just like playing all these games. Once I kind of like was like dedicated to doing it, and I figured out a couple games that like fit the series for myself, I was like, okay, this is gonna work, you know, or at least it's gonna work on me.
Yeah.
I hope people. I think people are buying it, and I hope people like it because it is a bit more bleak than the other books. You know, like the other books are a bit more lighthearted than this one, and it could have been a lot more bleak, man. The guy that I'll say it anyway. The guy that we were talking to about the forward in the beginning, it's like he worked at the Miami lab, and like, man, oh man, I didn't even put the Miami lab in the book because the Miami lab is bleak. The Miami lab is just like a dolphin torture center, which I was just like, I cannot, with my style, I cannot be drawing these dolphins all cute and smiling and then draw them being tortured. Like, if people will throw the books away. Nobody will buy them, you know. Also, it'll just be too much for them. Like, alluding to it is funny, but it's like, yeah, and he did feel guilty about it in the end. Like, he did free those 2 dolphins, which was nice. Like, you know, like, but to get to that point, like, we're talking about like going through like a journey to get to freeing 2 dolphins. Like, the amount of dolphins that had to die, it's like, oh my goodness. That ain't fun. No,
that's not science.
Yeah, I know.
It's not how science.
There's another guy. I was gonna write about this in Back Matter, but I was like, it's too long, it's too much. I'm not gonna do it. But another guy that Lily got a job doing dolphin work because the Navy continued to do dolphin work after Lily. The guy that Lily recommended to be the Navy's dolphin guy Lily showed up at the Navy Dolphin Lab, I believe in San Diego, and just wanted to see him and like the dolphins. And that guy was like, "You need to get that fucking asshole Lily out of here," because Lily had killed so many dolphins. You know, he was like, "I don't want him touching these dolphins. I don't want him seeing these dolphins. I don't want him to have anything to do with this guy." And Lily had gotten the guy the job, so he was like, "Oh, I don't know, a little bit of a jerk, huh?" But like, you know, not everybody was hyped.
Ooh. Brian, thank you for joining.
No problem. What a note to end on. Brian loves to have fun.
Do you think we got to the core? Do you think the core is fun?
I think so. I had fun. I had fun.
Me too. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, oh, 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 bye, oh.